Dorian Gray's portrait is a masterpiece. It portrays him as a young Adonis made of ivory and rose leaves. It radiates beauty and eternal goodness. It is perfect. In fact, Dorian worries it's a little too perfect. As he gets older, he thinks, the picture will serve as a constant reminder of what he's lost. And so, he wishes for the opposite, that the picture will age instead, and he'll stay young forever. It's unclear why, but somehow his wish comes true. The portrait takes on all the hardships of age, of illness, of any blemish or corruption Dorian would otherwise sustain. As long as it's around, he'll stay beautiful, radiant, immortal in the flower of his youth. With the assurance that he will never change, no matter how old he gets, no matter what he subjects himself to, Dorian realizes that he is also liberated from any need for self-restraint. He can be as hedonistic, as debauched, as depraved as he wants, and he will be forever beautiful, beloved by all. Dorian slowly spirals into evil. He indulges every destructive vice within him and invites newer, darker ones all the time. At one point, he drives a young woman to suicide and then callously blames her for it. When his friend, the artist who painted the portrait to begin with, urges him to repent for his actions, Dorian stabs him to death. On the outside, you'd never know what Dorian has become. He doesn't seem any different at all. But in the portrait, you can see it all. First, it's the face that changes. The painting assumes a wicked sneer as if reflecting the building darkness within Dorian. When Dorian sees this, it disturbs him so much that he locks it away in the attic. But that can't stop the changes. The further Dorian descends into evil, the more it begins to show in the portrait. The face begins to wrinkle, the expression curls into a horrifying grimace. Its hands become coarse and bloated. Bloodstains gradually begin to spread across them. After 18 years of depraved living, tormented by the unfelt weight of his own wickedness, he eventually confronts the painting. Delirious with guilt and self-loathing, Dorian picks up the knife he used to murder his friend and stabs it into the canvas. He thinks, quote, it would kill the past, and when that was dead, he would be free. But that isn't what happens. Stabbing the portrait doesn't free him. Instead, the painting returns to its former beauty, and in an instant, Dorian assumes the full weight of the cruelty, the ugliness, the depravity that had been building up within the painting all this time. When his servants finally find his body on the floor, he's so withered and twisted that they can only recognize him by the rings on his fingers. What I like so much about the picture of Dorian Gray as a story is basically what I like about every doppelganger story. No, in this one the doppelganger isn't an uncanny double that stalks the hero through the streets. It doesn't try to take over his life or murder him. But it does do what pretty much all doppelgangers do by their very nature. It reflects him. For Dorian, this is the scariest monster imaginable, the true image of his own soul. It's also completely irresistible to him. As much as he may benefit from ignoring it, that is just not something you can do with this kind of monster. It's just not how it works. The doppelganger always catches up with you in the end, because the one monster you can never escape is yourself. Doppelgangers are what I would call an essential monster. They've been around for as long as humans have had shadows. You probably know the classics, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Edgar Allan Poe's William Wilson, Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale The Shadow, which we did a video on like 50 years ago. Even now, humans are still creating movies like Cam and Black Swan. It's impossible to go a day without hearing about what happened in the latest episode of Severance. The doppelganger is essential. It's here. It has always been, and probably always will be, That doesn't mean it stayed the same. In fact, as what I would argue to be one of the most well-loved tropes of all time, it's actually a pretty scattered concept. Some of them are actual monsters, hunting down their human counterparts. Others are more psychological. They don't exist physically within the story, but are instead products of a fractured mental state. You even have doppelgangers that fall on the more sci-fi side of things, as compartmentalizations of the mind. But they all have one thing in common: you're almost always afraid of them. The majority of these stories are horror, and when they aren't, the doppelganger is still the source of conflict, and the place where things stand to go the most catastrophically wrong for you. No matter what form they take or what sort of threat they pose, I think all doppelgangers tap into one very intimate and very human emotion, the exact same one that made Dorian drive a knife into his own image: a fear of self. This is Elizabeth. Once upon a time, she was a Hollywood celebrity, an icon. But now, her star on the Walk of Fame is beginning to crack. It's been ages since she's seen her name in lights. She's reduced to hosting a fitness show, and soon, she won't even have that. Her manager thinks she's getting too old, and worse, unattractive. Her whole career and her self-worth was built around how good she looked on screen. Now, the little time she has left is quickly running out. But there is a glimmer of hope for her, something that'll allow her to turn back the clock and hold on to her slipping glory days. It comes in the form of a drug, a mysterious chemical branded simply the substance. She's promised that taking it will result in a better version of herself, someone younger, more beautiful, more perfect. This mysterious, sketchy drug actually works, but not in the way Elizabeth expects it to. For one, she doesn't actually change. Instead, it creates someone else. Someone, as the manufacturer promised, younger, more beautiful, more perfect. This new self, this duplicate, this is Sue, and she's ready for a taste of Elizabeth's fame. And taste it she does. Sue loves her new life. She auditions to replace Elizabeth on the fitness show and immediately gets the part. Sue skyrockets to fame, her entourage of admirers, fans, and lovers never far behind. Elizabeth, on the other hand, she gets fired. The billboard that once displayed her face is taken down and replaced with an image of Sue, the gorgeous new host of her show. She's been forgotten, discarded, washed up. All she can do is watch her other self from afar, living the life she so desperately craves. The substance, who would have guessed, comes with a catch. It has to be used in balance. After all, Sue and Elizabeth are both halves of the same whole. As the label and advertising reminds them over and over, they are one. As long as they each live for a few days at a time, Sue can enjoy the parties, the attention, the fame, and Elizabeth can recuperate to keep providing that life for Sue. When they depend on each other and follow the instructions, there's balance. The challenge is to maintain it. At this, of course, they fail miserably. Sue doesn't want a half-life. She almost immediately begins to abuse the rules. She steals a night from Elizabeth, then a day, then several days. And time isn't the only thing she takes from her. The more time Sue steals, the more Elizabeth's body decays. Her body starts to wither away, accelerating toward the very thing she wanted so desperately to escape. She quickly grows resentful of Sue, her constant partying, the messes she leaves behind, how she takes advantage of Elizabeth while she's unconscious. And Sue feels the same. Worse, even. She isn't just cruel to Elizabeth, she's disgusted by her. Her age, her desperation, her pathetic self-loathing. The relationship turns to bitterness, then hatred, and then, inevitably, outright violence. From that point, the substance gets truly insane. If you haven't seen the movie, you should. That's all I'll say here. What really strikes me about the movie, though, and why I bring it up here, is that simple refrain, "You are one." It's a warning repeated over and over throughout the movie. No matter how much they may hate each other, Sue and Elizabeth are the same person. They're two sides of a conflict that was raging inside of Elizabeth before she ever took the substance. Her self-loathing for her own aging body, her wistfulness for the days she'll never get back. The second Sue crawled out of her back, that conflict became external. It turned from something insurmountably abstract into something horrifyingly concrete. It's easy to watch the substance and think of Sue as the villain. I mean, things do not go well for the two of them, but I sort of see Sue as an opportunity, a chance for Elizabeth to very literally confront herself, to cut through the impossibly vague, lifelong ordeal of self-discovery and see, plainly, who she is. It's scary, yes, but how incredibly useful could this experience have been for the two of them if they'd let it? At a glance, Omori doesn't look like a horror game. The game starts out in a place called Headspace, a sort of kawaii wonderland full of imaginary friends and goofy monsters. Everyone you love is here, accompanying you on your very own hero's journey. Here, you are powerful, brave, loved by everyone. This is your world. But just as you're sinking into the story, really starting to enjoy the fun and whimsy of this place, your character, Omori, stabs himself, and everything changes. You wake up in your real-world bedroom. You're not playing as Omori anymore. Now, you're Sunny. They may look identical, but Sunny is very different from Omori. Sunny is withdrawn. He has friends, but his relationships with them are more difficult, more strained than they are in Headspace. As you continue to play the game, going back and forth between worlds and lives, you start to put the pieces together. Sunny is afraid of heights, but in the imaginary world of Headspace, Omori can climb a ladder all the way to the stars. Sunny is terrified of spiders. Omori bravely defeats them. Headspace, it becomes clear, isn't just a daydream. It's a coping mechanism. It's somewhere Sunny can feel safe and in control. But then you have to wonder, why would Sunny need a coping mechanism? Would a simple fear of heights or spiders really warrant the creation of an entire inner world? It turns out, loyal friends and fun adventures aren't the only things in his mind. Throughout the game, the cheerful atmosphere of Headspace is continuously interrupted. Something is pursuing you. Something dark and formless, made of staring eyes and grinning teeth and grasping hands. You can't run from it forever. You can't fight it. This something is always there, ready to appear again as soon as you think you're safe. Not to give the biggest spoiler of all time or anything, but, well, here I go. This something Sunny is dealing with, it's his overwhelming guilt for causing the death of his own sister. He didn't mean to do it, but he did. And then he framed it as a suicide. Sunny isn't just running from his own life, all the fears and discomforts. He's running from the part of himself he can never forgive. The only monster he can't defeat, even in his dreams. During all of the game's hardest boss battles, you play as Omori. But for the final one, you play as Sunny. Omori, your coping mechanism, your better self, is now your enemy. Throughout the game, Omori has been protecting Sunny. He's been building him a second life, somewhere fun and carefree that he can escape to. He's given Sunny a sense of detachment from his horrible reality, allowing him to hide away from his trauma. But safety isn't the same as peace, and hiding isn't the same as healing. The game has two endings. In one, Sunny is consumed by guilt. He succumbs to his despair and shame. In this ending, Sunny chooses to stay in Headspace. Reality is too much to handle. He becomes Omori, by ending his own life. In the other ending, Sunny finds the strength to face the truth. He finally confesses to his friends what he's done. He confronts the final terrifying monster he's been running from this whole time, his own guilt. And there's only one way he can really do that: by killing Omori. It's easy to see this second ending as the good one, I think. I mean, it is. I certainly find it preferable. But it's also bittersweet, because Headspace and Omori are ultimately a good thing for Sunny. His fantasy revitalizes his longing to connect to the real world. It allows him to face his fears. It teaches him to persevere in the face of the insurmountable, to comfort his loved ones, to put his trust in them. It teaches him to breathe. Ironically, it's this experience that allows him to move on from Headspace. Maybe he could suppress all the bad memories for a time, but in closing himself off, he'd also been ignoring the good ones too. All the times he'd shared with his sister, how she'd held him as he cried, the music they played together, the picnics with their friends before everything fell apart. As the adventure progresses, Sunny manages to work through the pain and to cherish each of these memories neglected for so long. Slowly, he learns to forgive himself. It's a lengthy task. It takes the whole game in bits and pieces. You barely realize it's happening. But in the end, Sunny can finally understand, face, and appreciate Omori. Omori may be the final boss, but he's not Sunny's enemy. He was always a guide. And this final confrontation is, in its way, his last gift to Sunny. There's a moral common to a lot of doppelganger stories. It goes something like this. Although it may be scary, in the end, it's necessary to face your shadow. If you don't, it takes over. Dorian Gray hid his portrait away until he couldn't hide from himself any longer. Elizabeth and Sue refused to cooperate with each other and destroyed themselves as a result. Sunny couldn't actually heal until he confronted Omori, making peace with his guilt instead of keeping it buried. It's a fine moral. I agree with it, actually, even if I have some gripes with the whole Jungian shadow thing. Ultimately, I think you do have to be able to engage in honest self-reflection and to think lucidly about who you are, and that is a great part of these stories. But you know what these stories also do? They make it look easy. I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say. It's counterintuitive to call what Dorian or Elizabeth or Sunny went through easy. But remember, it's not the doppelganger that made their lives hard. The doppelganger just made the conflict concrete, instead of something vague and nebulous in their mind that they'd otherwise have to wonder about their entire lives. Compared to the nigh impossibility of seeing your own soul, the countless hours of reflection and self-correction, the ways that you will inevitably fail or suffer because you just can't know yourself, it does kind of look easy. Doppelgangers are unique among all other monsters, not just because they're the hardest to escape, but because I think they're the ones that secretly you most long to encounter. I look at all these horrifying scenarios, all the stories you've written and told over and over again, and the one thought that recurs time and time again, no matter how counterintuitive it might feel, is that, despite everything, you'd be lucky to have a doppelganger. One thing I didn't mention about doppelgangers is how they seem to manifest creatively. This idea that you have an entirely different self that appears in your art versus how you act in real life. If you're an artist, you probably know what I'm talking about. Some of the darkest, scariest, most twisted media out there was also created by some of the most wholesome people. I mean, whenever I watch a Junji Ito interview, it's hard to believe that he doesn't have some kind of dark doppelganger behind all his work. Like, you're telling me that this is the guy who wrote Uzumaki and Tomie? It's just hard to believe. Actually, we found this exact thing so interesting that we made a whole micro-documentary about it. Junji Ito and this weird balance between his dark, artistic mind and his pleasant, friendly exterior. It's sort of a cute, memeable thing, but it's also part of how he finds his inspiration. Horror is a matter of play to him, which makes his work feel different from just about anybody else. It's a great little documentary, and we had a lot of fun making it. It's actually part of our documentary series, Worldsmiths. Every episode is dedicated to a different one of our favorite authors. Clive Barker, H.P. Lovecraft, Arthur Conan Doyle. It is by far some of the best content we've ever made. And you can watch all 6 episodes, along with all our other exclusive stuff, which there is a lot of, over on Nebula. You've probably heard us talk about Nebula before. You've probably heard a bunch of creators talk about it. There's a good reason for that. Nebula is what made Worldsmiths and a bunch of other projects like it possible. It's a creator-owned and creator-built platform designed for projects like Worldsmiths. On Nebula, it's not about analytics and algorithms and content. It's about us, the creators. It is the best place for our more experimental, higher production projects. That's why we're on there, and why creators like Jacob Geller and Big Joel and even Lindsay Ellis are as well. It is absolutely jam-packed with projects that you can't see anywhere else because they couldn't exist anywhere else. And despite all of that, a Nebula subscription is still shockingly affordable. It's usually only $6 a month or $60 a year, but if you use our link, go.nebula.tv/TaleFoundry, it's only going to cost you $36 a year, which comes out to just $3 a month. If you like the idea of not only getting access to exclusive projects from your favorite creators, but being a part of the reason that they exist, join Nebula. It is one of the best ways to support creators like us. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching, and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye!